that I'm going to have to jump off at 10, and probably so will Alderwoman Tierney. We have a finance committee meeting at 10 a.m.
You are live.
Okay. When that happens, we will
Probably so
lose a
will
quorum.
Alderwoman Tierney.
Am I right? Maybe not.
Yes, but there's some kind of echo going on.
Okay. So we have a quorum consisting of Captain Amy Miguez, Jody Dickinson, Ellie Tierney, John Wardell, John Ortlieb, Trish Hopkins, and myself, Joe Simo. That is a quorum. We will proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes of the open session of March 1, 2022. I have one correction. I hadn't focused on it before. It shows Alderman Ross attending, and I don't think he was at the meeting.
That was for the last closed meeting session. We have to report the last closed session before we start the current opening session. So it was in the last meeting.
I made that correction too, and Nikki told me I was wrong.
Okay, fine. Then I stand corrected. Hopefully everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes. Do we have a motion to accept them? This is the minutes of the open session.
And this is from the last meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so I was not there, so I think that I should abstain.
Okay.
And so I don't know what that does to our quorum.
Let's postpone accepting it because the only person who was there was me. Or no, Trish was there, right? You're on mute.
Yes, I was there.
Do you want to make a motion to accept them?
Motion to accept.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? The minutes are accepted. The next item on the agenda is a review of the investment environment, and I'll defer to Ian for that presentation.
All right, great. Thank you, Joe. I'm going to share my screen.
And I have asked Ian to make this one relatively brief because we have a number of guests coming to the executive sessions. And out of respect for time, we'll.
Okay,
just
so let me just make this a little bigger. So just to set the stage for the agenda today, I'm going to review the market environment, and then we'll go into executive session for a review of the performance report. And as Joe mentioned, we have 3 presenters today, and Lord Abbott is presenting, and this is the manager who focuses on what's called innovation, disruptive technology, and they manage a small cap growth vehicle. They've been invited in to join at 9 a.m. And then we have Accolade Growth joining us we've asked them to join at 9:30. We currently have exposure to Accolade Growth Fund number 1, and they are back in the market with Growth Fund number 3. And then we have another opportunity to consider manager called Sterling, and they have been invited at 10 a.m. to present their consumer logistics fund. And then I'll give updates on where we stand with Boyd Watterson. We have a session on the manager fossil fuel exposure, which was a topic at the last meeting. We're going to follow up on that. I had shared some detail on Fidelity ESG funds, and then 2 items related to the Trumbull property fund. So going and looking at performance now, we put together performance in our report through March 31. Didn't have time as we just ended April over the weekend, but I was able to gather performance numbers for the publicly traded equities and fixed income managers, which I'll share with you in just a little bit. April was a tough month on the heels of a tough first quarter. But if we look at returns through year to date March 31, we basically were in mid-single digit negative return territory on the equity side. You can see the S&P 500 was down about 4.6%, and mid and small cap stocks were down a little bit more. Mid cap was down roughly 5.7, and small cap was down 7.5. When we look at style of management, growth and value, growth is that part of the market that has led for the last number of years, but growth has given back the most ground in 2022. You can see the Russell 1000 Growth Index was down more than 9%, where the value index, which has trailed over the last number of years, protected more on the downside, down roughly 74 basis points through March. In the international markets, returns similar to our domestic markets. You can see the MSCI EAFE index, which is representative of developed international countries. Countries like the United States was down 5.9, and the emerging markets were down roughly 7% through March. An equally challenging part of our global markets has been fixed income. And fixed income has been challenging because of the general rise in interest rates. And you can see the investment grade US market, represented by the Bloomberg Aggregate Index, was down 5.9% for the first 3 months of the year. So the takeaway there is that the S&P was down 4.6. Investment grade high quality bonds lost more in the first 3 months of the year, being down 5.9%. Corporate investment grade high quality bonds were down about 7.7%. And the lower quality high yield bonds were down 4.8. Global bonds down about 6.2%. Basically, what we've had is a rising interest rate environment, and the rising interest rate environment has been impacted by the inflation that we've experienced in 2022, and the rise in short-term interest rates precipitated by the Federal Reserve to try to, one, ward off inflation, slow the economy down, make money more expensive, which basically takes money out of the hands of the consumer. And inflation is driven by the laws of supply and demand. More demand, less supply, that drives up prices. Supply has been impacted by the basically shortfall in the delivery of many goods because of supply chain issues. And that has impacted supply, and demand has been driven by the stimulus that was injected into the economy over the last couple of years, and people having dollars to spend. That has impacted the demand side of the equation, and that is what is resulting in this very high level of inflation. I'm now going to go and look at
Ian, we've lost you. I think you're frozen. He's probably going to have to, is he still moving his cursor around? No.
Now that's me, Mark Hildebrand.
Okay. All right.
If he can hear us, he should probably drop out and try and rejoin.
Yeah.
Okay, he's dropped out.
Lee, did you let Joe know that we have a hard stop about 9:45?
Yes,
Okay. All right. Sorry for joining late.
I think in the future, if we know we have a conflict that's going to take 3 or 4 of you out, we should postpone the meeting. I'd rather have you all here to hear the presentations.
I still don't see him rejoining.
Can you rejoin the meeting or are you having trouble? Right. Okay. All right. Do your best. Okay. Okay, he is working on the reconnection. What I propose is that we get a motion to go into executive session so that we can start talking about some of the items in front of us. Can I have that motion from someone?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?